At least 20 people, including civilian rescuers and an ambulance driver, have been killed after Saudi-led coalition planes carried out repeated airstrikes on the very same target in the Sa'ada province in Yemen. The international humanitarian organization Doctors Without Borders has confirmed an ambulance driver from one of its hospitals was killed in the airstrikes. He was apparently on his way to help people who were injured after the first bombing. Now, it's not the first time the Saudi-led coalition has carried out repeated airstrikes on the same target. You're looking at what's left now of an international conference and sports center in the country's capital, Sana'a. It was destroyed in 7 separate airstrikes. Now, it's been almost a year since the coalition launched its air campaign to support Yemen's ousted government in the fight against Houthi rebels. All right, to discuss this, I'm now joined live by Catherine Shakdam from the Shafakna Institute of Middle Eastern Studies in London. Catherine, great to see you. Thanks for joining us here on RT International today. There are major concerns about the level of civilian casualties in Yemen with the ongoing Saudi-led bombing campaign. We actually asked the spokesperson of the Saudi-led coalition in Yemen about concerns with civilian casualties. Have a listen. Here's what the spokesperson said.
We regret any casualty happen in Yemen. Let me remind the audience that this situation and dramatic situation was caused by the militias, by the coup d'etat of the militias, and who changed the situation to the chaotic situation in Yemen.
So, Catherine, how do you read into that? Is it actually the Houthi rebels responsible for all the civilian casualties?
Well, no, because last time I checked, they're not the one doing the bombing. So I would say that's completely ridiculous. I mean, the statement is not only hypocritical, it's just completely untrue. By the way, I'd just like to clear a few semantics, I would say. The Houthi are not rebels. What they are is the resistance movement against Saudi Arabia's aggression against Yemen. An illegal aggression, I'd like to add. And they have absolutely nothing to do. There was no coup d'etat in Yemen, and I hate this idea that the Saudi are able to manipulate media and narrative by simply redacting history. President Hadi was first of all elected in a one-man election back in 2012. So that wasn't democratic. Second of all, he resigned not once but twice, and then he ran away to Aden, and then he ran away to Saudi Arabia. So the idea that Riyadh is trying to restore some form of legitimacy to Yemen is just untrue again, because the president resigned, and his mandate was just for 2 years. So his mandate ended in 2014.
But Catherine, it's been about 10 months now of the Saudi bombing campaign across Yemen, one of the poorest countries in the world. Do you think the coalition has achieved so far what it wanted?
Well, if he wanted to kill, as many Yemenis as possible, yes. If he wanted to commit a genocide against Yemen, yes, they are doing a great job at this. And the international community is standing by, looking at them, their hands in their pocket, not saying anything, not doing anything.
Well, Catherine, I wanted to ask you that. Why is the world being so quiet about the bombing campaign in Yemen?
Money, because the Saudi have tremendous amounts of money, because the Saudi control the media, because the Saudi are capable of buying alliances, political alliances. I mean, for heaven's sake, you have British consultant, British military standing in Riyadh's war room, enabling this regime, trying to smite at Yemen as much as possible. And yet no one says anything. Saudi Arabia is sitting on the UN Human Rights Council. They are systematically targeting hospitals, schools, civilians, residential areas. And then we have a spokesman saying that they are very sorry, they are terribly sorry, and that they do not want to kill civilians. They are systematically targeting civilians.
Catherine, you bring up an issue we covered here yesterday on RT International in the past 24 hours, how Britain's arms sales of missiles to Yemen have gone up by 11,000% in the past year or so. Now, you made a very good point a moment ago, Catherine. You made a very good point. We've all seen the reports about the civilian casualties and the utter destruction in Yemen. How does all that fit in with Saudi Arabia's appointment as head of a key United Nations human rights panel?
Well, the way I'm looking at it, I think it's a political move. I think what they were trying to do is because they know very well that they have a pathetic and horrible track record when it comes to human rights. And so they are trying again to control the narrative. And if they're capable of sitting, on the committee, then they are able to control what is being said, what is being done, and how countries are behaving towards, violations against human rights. And I think that's the goal. Saudi Arabia is really trying to pull the blanket over people's eyes and trying to, again, control. It's all about control. It's all about, ensuring that they're asserting their own narrative, their own version of event, and that everybody else is going to go along with this because it's more comfortable to be under Saudi patronage than it is to tell the truth. Sadly, I think that the Yemeni have become a thorn in the side of Al Saud only because they are resisting, and they are resisting with everything that they've got, and only because the Saudi are trying to annihilate them. And that's the truth. There is a genocide going on in Yemen, and no one is saying anything because, they are very uncomfortable, and journalists do not want to get censored, and they want to continue to work for certain media. And so no one is saying anything. And it is actually quite sad that we have to wait for, a group such as MSF to be targeted for the media to actually bear witness of the tragedy which are ongoing in Yemen. I mean, civilians are dying every day. And we have the US to thank for this because the US came with this double tap strategy in Yemen with the drones. And so the Saudi are following suit. Is someone saying anything? No, of course not, because they have billions of dollars to throw at people and people are looking the other way because it's easier. But at the end of the day, I think that media have a duty to tell the truth and a duty to educate people. Now, if people want to react or not, it's up to them, really. But at least have the decency of the truth. And again, the Houthi are not rebels. They are a resistance movement, and they are entitled to defend their land, their country, and their people.
Well, Catherine, we are keeping a very close watch on this story with the continued Saudi bombing campaign over Yemen. Catherine Shakdam, the Director of Programs at the Shafakna Institute of Middle Eastern Studies in London. Thank you very much for your time today.
My pleasure.